The compact cinema market has erupted into an all-out trade war, leaving filmmakers with an incredibly difficult choice. Gone are the days when a single brand held a monopoly over professional run-and-gun video production. Today, we are staging an ultimate head-to-head comparison between three titans of the industry: the newly released Sony FX3 Mark II, the formidable Canon EOS C50, and the video powerhouse Nikon Z8. Each of these camera systems approaches filmmaking with a completely distinct engineering philosophy, targeting the exact same demographic of high-end solo operators, commercial directors, and indie production houses. By evaluating their performance across image quality, color science, ergonomics, and real-world handling, we will reveal which camera truly deserves your hard-earned investment. We begin by examining the image quality, resolution, and sensor architectures of these three competing platforms. The Nikon Z8 enters the arena with a massive advantage in raw resolution, utilizing its high megapixel stack sensor to deliver incredibly sharp, oversampled 8K video internals up to 60 frames per second. This gives editors immense flexibility to crop, stabilize, and reframe their shots in post-production for multi-platform delivery. However, the Sony FX3 Mark II and Canon EOS C50 prioritize a cinema-first approach over raw pixel count. Sony's FX3 Mark II utilizes a specialized, lower megapixel architecture optimized for massive individual pixel sites, giving it a definitive victory in low-light performance and pure dynamic range latitude. In high-contrast, mixed lighting environments, the Sony and Canon systems preserve highlight roll-off with a smooth, organic quality that feels distinctly cinematic, whereas the Nikon Z8 can occasionally exhibit a more clinical, digital aesthetic when pushed to its absolute exposure limits. Color science remains a deeply subjective yet critical component of any camera system, and here the differences between the three manufacturers become stark. The Canon EOS C50 shines brightly with its legendary Cinema EOS color science, delivering exceptionally warm, flattering skin tones and natural color gradients directly out of the camera when utilizing C-Log2. This makes it an absolute favorite for fast turnaround commercial clients and documentary crews who want minimal grading time in post-production. Sony has fought back aggressively with the FX3 Mark II, fine-tuning their S-Cinetone and S-Log3 profiles to completely eliminate the historical cool, slightly greenish cast that plagued earlier alpha models. The new Sony color science is beautifully balanced, offering rich, deep primary colors and an elegant, accurate skin response. The Nikon Z8, shooting in N-Log or internal 12-bit RAW, delivers an incredibly vibrant, punchy color palette with spectacular contrast, though it requires a slightly more experienced colorist to fully extract its cinematic potential during post-production grading sessions. When evaluating ergonomics, physical body design, and handling on set, each camera caters to a totally different style of shooting. The Canon EOS C50 is a miniaturized traditional cinema body, incorporating built-in physical ND filters and professional locking connectors. This design makes it incredibly efficient to operate on professional sets, but it adds noticeable bulk and weight that makes it less ideal for gimbal integration or discrete street photography. The Nikon Z8 remains stuck in a traditional DSLR hybrid form factor. While it is comfortable for handheld photography, it requires a comprehensive external cage and rigging setup to be effectively utilized as a primary cinema camera. The Sony FX3 Mark II strikes the absolute perfect balance for modern workflows. Its low-profile, modular box design features built-in threaded mounting points that eliminate the weight of an external cage, allowing it to transition seamlessly from stripped-down, ultra-lightweight gimbal configuration to a fully built studio rig in seconds. Ultimately, choosing between the Sony FX3 Mark II, Canon EOS C50, and Nikon Z8 comes down to identifying your specific production needs. If your workflow demands high-resolution 8K capture and hybrid stills capability, the Nikon Z8 is an absolute powerhouse that cannot be overlooked. If you require a traditional cinema workflow with internal ND filters and instant turnaround color, the Canon EOS C50 is a magnificent production asset. However, if you're a solo filmmaker or commercial director who needs ultimate low-light performance, rock-solid AI-driven autofocus, modular ergonomics, and an expansive ecosystem of native cinema lenses, the Sony FX3 Mark II emerges as the most versatile, capable, and future-proof compact cinema camera on the market today. To unpack the functional disparities among these three high-level production systems, we must delve deeper into the day-to-day, creative choices forced by their sensor behaviors. The Nikon Z8 relies heavily on computational sharpness because it is scanning a massive sensor surface and crunching massive 8K data packets. The detail rendering in textiles, architecture, and distant landscapes is staggeringly precise. For commercial work destined for large exhibition screens, this raw parsing power is incredibly impressive. Yet, this abundance of detail demands a deliberate approach to lighting. When filming high-contrast scenes under harsh midday sun or undiffused artificial key lights, the Nikon Z8 requires meticulous clipping protection. Its highlights roll off in a steeper curve compared to its cinema-dedicated rivals, requiring the operator to expose strictly for the highlights and count on the sensor's incredible noise recovery to bring back shadow details in post. On the flip side, the Sony FX3 Mark II and Canon EOS C50 handle extreme contrasts with an entirely different structural approach. Their larger individual pixels, or photosites, act as deeper wells for gathering light. This means that when a light source blows out or spikes within the frame, such as a bright window in a dim room or a direct headlight at night, the data curves gently into the clipping point. This characteristic behavior mimics analog film stock, providing an immediate sense of depth and cinematic texture that requires very little digital smoothing. Furthermore, the low-light threshold reveals a massive separation between these architectures. In our low-light tests, as ambient illumination drops below acceptable production standards, the Sony FX3 Mark II pull ahead dramatically due to its dual native processing.